name is Calista B, reporting for Kids First, here at the premiere of Tolkien, the movie about the life story of J.R.R. Tolkien, the writer of such classics as Lord of the Rings. Let's see some interviews.
Yes.
Down with Tolkien in theory and ask him a question and see, like, if I got this right, what would you want to ask him?
I'd ask him what he thought of the movie. What would I ask him? I would ask him about his childhood and where these ideas stemmed from. We feel like his love of language that his mum kind of distilled in him, then it forced him to create and inspire all these worlds and people. So I would love to see exactly what his ideas were and where they were coming from.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hello. Where are we going?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Tolkien was an amazing writer and he inspired a lot of people. So what were your inspirations?
Inspirations growing up. I'm going to go with, right now off the top of my head, Robin Williams and Jim Carrey. They kind of made my childhood, you know what I mean? So, yeah, those two.
Last question. Okay. What's Tolkien's material that you used to help inform your performance?
I went back through all of his work, but I kind of approached it with I'd read it before, but approached it with a new angle, whereby I read his letters and his biographies and learned about him alongside it. So it just kind of gave me a different perspective on his work, which was wonderful. I appreciated it in a whole new element. So that was kind of the main thing. But then also, like, listening to recordings of him, I would copy paintings that he did, go to places where he lived and grew up, and all those sorts of things. So just kind of anything that subconsciously might have perforated through the character. Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice one. Thank you very much.
Down, this way down?
Yep.
All right. Thank you guys. So Tolkien was an amazing writer and he inspired a lot of other writers. So what would you say were your inspirations for a certain series that I'm not allowed to mention?
Well, yes, certainly Tolkien was one of the big influences on me. I read him when I was 12 or 13, and I'd never read a book that I loved more. And when I started writing Game of Thrones, I reread it. I reread Tolkien every few years anyway, but I reread it. I took lessons from it. So, yeah, Game of Thrones would not exist without Tolkien. Now, mind you, let me make it clear, although he was a huge influence, he was not the only influence. I wanted to blend Tolkien's love of myth and secondary universes with some of the grittiness of historical fiction and real history. So in that sense, my work is a hybrid, but Tolkien is certainly, if not the entire ancestry, one of them.
Well, I was going to ask you, what did you learn from Tolkien's world building that you applied within your own work?
Well, I could talk about that for a long time, but one of the things was the structure. I mean, if you look at Fellowship of the Ring in particular, it all begins in the Shire. It's very small. It's very close. It's like walking across the Shire seems like an epic adventure. And but then as you get deeper into the book, it gets bigger and bigger. They cross the Shire, and suddenly they're in Bree, which is a strange place, and then suddenly they're in Rivendell, and you see the elves for the first time, and then they have to cross the Gap of Rohan, and it just gets larger and larger, and the world comes, and the characters split apart. They're all together. The Fellowship leaving Rivendell. There's all together the 9 walkers against the 9 riders, but by the end of the thing, everyone is scattered. They divide into 2 groups and then into 3 groups, and then the groups split up. Well, if you look at Game of Thrones, you'll see kind of a similar structure. Except for Daenerys, everybody begins in Winterfell, and now everybody is scattered to the ends of the earth. So.
Your work has become an international phenomenon. How does that feel, and did you feel a lot of pressure, particularly for the last season?
Yeah, I feel an enormous amount of pressure, especially because the book isn't finished yet. Right. And I wish I had finished the book, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, but I didn't. So that's the world I'm living in now, and the series is winding up, and I'm still writing the book. Yeah. But I don't think anybody in history has ever had quite this situation before. Right. I mean, by the time Tolkien movies were made, the J.R.R. was gone. But it is what it is. Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of stress on that. But it's good. I mean, you know, as a writer, you want to have people eager to read your next book. For 99% of the writers in the world, nobody cares when their next book is going to be because people have it. So, you know, you're fighting against obscurity. And I seem to have won that fight.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm here with David Gleeson, the screenwriter of Tolkien. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. So, Tolkien was influenced by fairy tale books, and what's your favorite fairy tale?
My favorite fairy tale? I would say probably Cinderella. Yeah, I think it's, first of all, I love the Disney cartoon. I love the music in it, and I just love her journey, her transformational journey. Yeah, so it'll probably be that.
So, Tolkien is an amazing writer, and he's been an inspiration for a lot of people. Where do you get your inspiration from?
How do you feel about this?
I guess, you know, people like Tolkien, you know, great artists. People like Steven Spielberg, you know, great artists, great filmmakers. Singers like David Bowie, you know, people who excel in what they do, you know, produce work, music, literature, movies that touch me, but also wear it lightly, you know, people that you know, don't get caught up in their own success or their own hype, you know, but they're still inspirational people as well. That's what I like most. Yeah.
And so I'm an aspiring writer. So do you have any advice for me or any other young writers out there?
I would say screenwriter or book.
I want to do movies and TV.
I would say go to the movies. Go to the movies, yeah.
I already do that a lot, so.
Yeah, see everything. I mean, my film school was, my dad owned a movie theatre and in Ireland, so I used to see movies all the time, and I would see the same movie 13 or 14 times, you know, and you learn as much from watching a bad movie as you do a good movie. And read screenplays. Yeah, you learn a lot there. A lot of little tricks, you know, a lot of little writer's tricks, yeah. And read books.
I'm still like in shock.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
So tell me, what brings you back tonight? You just wanted to come and
I'm here with Stephen Glickman. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. How are you today?
I'm good. So Tolkien was influenced by many fairy tale books. For example, Alice in Wonderland. What would you say is your favorite fairy tale?
Probably Jack and the Beanstalk is probably my favorite. Wizard of Oz, way up there for me. I mean, it's a big part of my life, and I mean, Lord of the Rings was like a huge deal when I was a kid, and getting to read that as a kid, it totally changed my outlook on what fantasy could be like, and I'm so excited to see what they're doing today.
And in high school, Tolkien was a part of the TCBS club, which is basically a tea club. And so what clubs were you in high school, if you were in it?
Yeah, I was part of the yoga club. I was also part of the yogurt club. I was also part of the frozen yogurt club. All stuff I love. All things I love.
You're out of the yoga class right now. And last question, do you prefer action or comedy for genre?
What genre do I like better? I like a good action comedy. I like a little bit of both. Is that okay?
That is completely fine.
Right, as long as you're okay with it. I don't have to pick one or the other.
I mean, I like both, so.
Yeah, no, definitely both. I'm gonna go with both. I'm gonna but comedy more.
Yeah.
And action. See, I'm having a lot of trouble deciding.
Oh no, see, they're both really good.
They're both amazing.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice to meet you. Thanks for having me on your show.
Thank you for being here.
You bet. Hi, guys.
I'm here with Lasse Frank. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
So, Tolkien is an amazing writer, and he's inspired many people. So, what would you say you get your inspiration from?
To do the movie?
just in general, like working on movies and stuff.
Okay, I mean, I just had an interesting for movies and still photos, and from I was a kid. I mean, my dad works in television. I was able to borrow some equipment, and I loved it. So that's, I mean, that was to begin. And then movies in general. I just love movies.
I can feel that. So in high school, Tolkien was a part of the TCBS club. Were you in any clubs in high school, and if so, what clubs?
360 cameras gotta get.
I was a sports dude, so I was in a football club, a soccer club. Yeah.
That's interesting. And just last question: do you prefer pancakes or waffles? I know these all have been Tolkien themed, and I'm just like.
Pancakes.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. So those were the interviews I got at the premiere of Tolkien. If you like this video, make sure to check out the Kids First website and, of course, all the other Kids First reviewers. And I will be seeing you all later. Bye-bye.